Good afternoon to you. Mark out of HurricaneTrack here. Monday now, the 4th day of August 2025. So good to be back with you here as we start the week. Things are certainly looking busy. I talked about that the last time we got together, and here we are. The active start to August has commenced. We have Tropical Storm Dexter out there and then a couple of other areas to monitor over the coming days. So let's take a look at what's happening out there. I'll break it down for you, see what I see, and hopefully point you in the direction of actionable and intelligent information. All right, that's what I'm here for. So let's get started. First, National Hurricane Center homepage. There's Dexter, and top winds 45 miles per hour, and pressure at 1,002 millibars, and it is moving off to the east-northeast with time, northeast really, so it'll stay north of Bermuda, which is right here, and clearly it is moving away from the United States. Could be some swells that get generated from this, but those will be pretty low magnitude overall, so not too many worries from that. However, if you're headed to the beaches out here, anywhere along the coast, any time of the year really, especially during warm season when you might be getting in the water, just pay attention to the rip current threat, please. We like you alive. It's just much better that way. Next, we have a system here not designated as an invest area just yet. Broad area of low pressure is forecast to develop in a couple of days off the coast of the southeast United States. Some of the computer models, some of the time, just depending on which run of which model you look at, takes this little piece of energy down here, and I'll show it to you on satellite in just a minute, and it does try to concentrate it and develop it into maybe a weak tropical storm or something. Going to be a slow process. The main, headline here and the main thing to keep an eye on is that it will bring impacts. More shower and thunderstorm activity, eventually closer to the coast, some squally conditions. So anybody venturing out into the Gulf Stream area, anybody headed on cruises that might be going through that area, just marine interest, right? You got to keep an eye on this. Just making sure you're aware. Remember, I say this often, we have a lot going on in the world every single hour. Seems like every single second. We just don't want the weather to sneak up on us and cause us undue stress. Now, speaking of stress, I know a lot of people have been seeing the models. We have that ability now, as good or bad as that may be, to look at the long-range guidance from pretty much any model that is out there through a variety of websites. A few people have asked me even this morning on social media, what do you think about that? What we're seeing. And the short answer is, well, we don't have anything out there right now, so my concern is a big fat 0. However, we are in the month of August, and the tropics are gradually getting more favorable, as, again, I talked about the last time I produced a video, and here we are seeing that. But it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to have this rapid development of all sorts of hurricanes coming our way. So just remain calm. There's no action needed right now, nothing to worry about. And we'll watch and see how things progress. But let me show you, that being said, what the stage looks like, so to speak. I think that's a good way to put it this afternoon. It's morning where I am, St. George, Utah. We'll discuss that at the end of today's update. But look, there's Dexter, and it was attached to a front, but it has detached itself from that front, so it's its own thing, a tropical storm sitting out here in the Atlantic, not really bothering anyone. Meanwhile, there is a tropical wave that has come off Africa over here, has that sort of S shape to it overall. There is some energy sitting out there, but the dry air is still quite prevalent. That too being said, I'm going to show you in just a moment here, there's less dry air sitting out here, so we're starting to erode away that Saharan air layer as we enter August here, and I think that'll just continue, and we're going to have a favorable Madden Julian oscillation coming through. So basically, this whole area is going to be more favorable over the coming weeks. We're going to have to just see if these tropical waves overcome the background state of dryness. That's an unknown. We don't know what's going to happen, because we're not that good at it. We're good, but we're not that good as a species. All our advanced computer models and whatnot, we don't really know for sure. But what we do know is that we can sometimes look out the window. That's a good metaphor. And we can look and see what's out there. There's Dexter, the vorticity signature with that. More energy now starting to show up in the deep tropics out here, more vorticity as we call it. And we'll have to wait and see. Does some of that start to coalesce, like we see here with Dexter, down in the deep tropics, meaning that the energy is starting to bundle and focus? So far, we're not seeing that. But this is a big chunk of energy sitting right here over Western Africa, approaching the coast in a few days. Some more energy has just come off. There's more sitting back here over interior Africa. These tropical waves, this is where they get started, off the Ethiopian highlands. Very fascinating pieces of weather that come off into the Atlantic, and sometimes they develop into tropical cyclones, as we are well aware. So what's going to be happening in the next few days, maybe about a week from now, we're going to have a much favorable upper level pattern to induce what we call forcing. So instead of the air being pressed down, sort of this subsidence pattern we've had, the air is going to be allowed to rise a lot more efficiently. And we're already starting to see a few signs of that, more thunderstorms, especially over Africa. But this is going to become more prevalent. So that's going to be the window where either this piece of energy sitting here or this one that is yet to come off Africa might start to try to develop. If that's the case, then we will have something obviously to track, and we'll see what the computer models say as we go forward. But right now, anything you're seeing in model guidance is literally pure speculation. It's numeric output, computer-generated images. Honestly, that's what it is. It's zeros and ones, and it's predicting the future from something that doesn't really exist yet, what it's showing in the future. You know, like a big hurricane somewhere, well, it's not one now. So just always remember that, all right? Now, look, I was talking about the sort of backing off of the Saharan air layer, and here you go. Definitely out in the eastern part of the Atlantic, a big reduction in the Saharan air and the dust. Although, like I told you last week, very important point, I want to keep hammering this. A, it's not the dust that chokes off hurricanes from even developing. And B, as I talked about from our friend Michael Lowry, July had the lowest occurrences of dust, the suspended aerosols in the air over the Atlantic basin by a huge margin, the lowest ever. July was the lowest incidences ever. So it really wasn't the dust at all. It's this dry mid-level air and the subsidence, the sinking motion. We just haven't had much forcing, to get the atmosphere to produce deep thunderstorms. But that's starting to change. Less and less of this overall Saharan air layer. You can look right there. See, it says less right there. Less is the yellow and orange, and that's what we're seeing. More is the reds into the pinks, and that's still prevalent, but there's more yellow and orange than red and pink. So it's inherently less. It is definitely less, all right? A look at the sea surface temperature anomaly is always a good sort of measure of how things stack up against the norm. And clearly, the deep tropics out here and even up into the subtropics, obviously, warmer than average. Now, I wonder, I'll have to maybe send a text to my friend Phil. He's got a lot of friends, Dr. Klotzbox. I don't want to sound like I am someone special. Maybe I am, but I might text him and say, hey, look, this cool anomaly that has shown up now west and southwest of the Iberian Peninsula, will that help to sort of focus more energy and more upward motion and instability to the south of it? Because when the whole Atlantic is warm, you just don't have any area that is sort of competing against another area. Another way to look at it is everything's in balance, right? And so this might be the start of something changing. I don't know. I mean, I just saw it. I was curious about it. Because if you focus the warmth down in the deep tropics and it's cooler up here, this dominates. And you get more upward motion down there and more energy available for hurricanes to tap into. And the whole Atlantic is not really, in balance, so to speak. Anyway, a little tangent there. Pacific, still cooling out here due to the strong easterly winds. We've talked about that a lot in recent weeks, really. And it'll be interesting to see if we're getting closer to La Nina thresholds officially from Climate Prediction Center. We'll see about all that. But Western Atlantic way above normal, as is the Gulf. Really no change there since the last several years. If we zoom in, we can see that even clearer. And even the Caribbean here, the Eastern Caribbean, running above normal. Central Caribbean, a little bit closer to normal. Normal, average, whatever you want to call it. But man, the Gulf in here is still so very warm, as is the Northwest Caribbean. And this all does start to matter now if we get something to tap into these vast reserves of very warm water temperatures. How warm? Well, these are the actuals. And I mean, I got to really zoom back out to show you the 30-degree isotherm. That's line of equal temperature. I don't know if that's the, excuse me, the largest expanse of it that I've ever seen, but that's pretty close. It's almost the entirety of the Gulf is now 30 plus Celsius, and around Florida here, just west of there, 31, and then even 32 Celsius right up against the shelf water there. We're talking upper 80s to almost 90 Fahrenheit over a vast area there, almost the entirety of the Gulf. Wow. And in the western Atlantic, no wonder we have Dexter sitting out here, moving on out into the open Atlantic, because water temperatures are nice and warm. The 26 Celsius line is actually right here. I'll draw it in a little bit thicker of a stroke line for you. 26 Celsius, that's 79.5 degrees. We round it up to 80, and there it is. So anything south of this line is generally conducive for hurricanes to form, ocean temperature-wise. In fact, on the Carolina coast down here, if we switch to Fahrenheit, we're talking about low to mid 80s, 29, almost 30 degrees Celsius, and in fact, again, 30 Celsius down here off Hilton Head, Savannah, Tybee. You know, like, that's warm. And when I get back from the southwest, I'll have to head down to the beach and enjoy that. I like the warm water. Now, let's take a look at some models here with a couple of caveats or whatever, some pre-stuff for you. A, Tropical Tidbit site had an outage again overnight and into this morning. Always unfortunate to see that. A lot of us depend on it. We appreciate that Dr. Cowan makes it free for people to use, but sometimes there are issues and it goes down. So what I'm going to do is show you the 6Z run, because that's full. It's got everything I wanted to show you. And we'll compare the GFS versus the Euro, because there's a couple of important things to point out. And we're going to do a lesson here and not focusing on one deterministic model. We're going to revisit that and kind of what to look for at the same time. I want to teach you some things that you can look for yourself when you look at these models. So the first thing, this is the 6Z run, so 6 Zulu time. That's when it was initialized, so about 2 a.m. Eastern. And again, this is your vorticity at 5,000 feet. My favorite part of the atmosphere to look at to give me clues as to what might be coming or what is already out there. There's Dexter. That is the fingerprint. Right? See that? That's, if you know the Dexter series, just a little nod to that. Somebody, I think it was Matt Devitt, just a quick little note down there at Wink TV. He said, regarding last night when it became named, he said, tonight was the night. If you ever watched Dexter, you understand the reference. Anyway, let's get back to this. This is serious, but sometimes levity can, it works a little bit. So there's the signature for Dexter at the low levels of the atmosphere. Do we see anything out here like that right now? No, of course not. Or at least 2 a.m. this morning. So let's move this out through time and see what happens. Follow Dexter there out into the North Atlantic, and it eventually fades out. But then look what happens. By 72 hours, the GFS really starts to latch on to the energy that's sitting over here now. So just 3 days out, it starts to really blow that up. So here's your first clue. In 3 days, I'll certainly be back doing videos, right? We try to do them every day. Maybe not tomorrow. I'll explain why. We'll see. It's a good reason. But in 3 days, we can look and verify and ask a very simple question. Is that there? It should look like that on the GFS in 3 days. So when we do the update in 3 days, that will be coming up Thursday. When I do the update, that should be there. If it's not, the GFS has already blown it, at least for that time period. It's not quite that simple, but for me, that's a good judgment of this. That's a good way to see how things are going. So that's day 3, and then you have day 4, and then day 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Not 8. I kept counting. Stop, Mark. So hour 168. The GFS would have us believe that there is a stout tropical storm sitting to the northeast of the Caribbean with more wave energy coming off of Africa. Dexter died away out here a while ago. By the way, just to show you, because we do have that yellow area off the southeast coast, what happens with that? Let me just switch this over to the western Atlantic extent. There's the energy that the Hurricane Center has outlined right now. What happens with that over the next few days? Not a lot. I can put that into motion. You see, there's just not much there. Maybe some disturbed weather comes into the shot. That's 6 days out. We'll see. I'm not too concerned with it, but that doesn't mean nothing will happen. We can never say that for sure, because after all, it's nature, right? Sometimes we just don't know. Euro, though, I want to show you this comparing to the GFS. Let's just move this out. This is also the 6Z run. And if we take this out to 72 hours, quite the contrast. Maybe. It's not quite as amped up, but it does have some energy down there, similar to the GFS. But beyond that time frame, not much more than that. It kind of shears it out, strings the vorticity out over a large area, and does not focus it. So my point here is, and again, I know some of you have seen those longer term, beyond a week, and look, that's fine. But I just want you to make sure you know what you're looking at. And some people get upset when they see these things. They are very afraid of hurricanes, and I understand that too. So context is important. It's August, it's hurricane season. We have a lot of parameters that are favorable, but we have a few that are not. And until everything lines up, there's not much to worry about overall. And you certainly can bet your bottom dollar that when it does come to that, assuming it does, we'll tell you about it, as will everybody else that you trust out there in internet land. All right? So I am in St. George, Utah, finishing up, getting there. This is the last week of being out here. And I'm going to go from St. George over here and move my way through Hurricane, Utah. How about that? And then eventually make my way down with my colleague Scott. And we're going to hang out here in the Vermilion Cliffs area just north of the Dragon Bravo fire, where we will stay all night tonight and do several things. I want to do some time lapses. I have brought all of my GoPros with me, my Insta360, and the drone to do all kinds of interesting time-lapse work with the fire to the south of us. And I don't know what we're going to get. I don't know what to expect. We do have a pretty fat moon coming through the night sky and headed towards full in a few days, so that'll make things interesting, maybe illuminating the smoke. But we're going to stream the whole thing up until about midnight or so Eastern, live on YouTube, starting around 4 p.m. this afternoon, so about an 8, maybe 9-hour stretch where we're going to be live on YouTube, because that's not the monsoon, but it is part of the overall environment of what happens out here. In fact, a monsoonal-esque storm, I guess it was part of the desert monsoon, on July 4th, lightning strike, started this fire. It is now a mega fire. It has taken out, as you're probably aware, the North Rim lodge down there that was so near and dear to a lot of people, and it is still growing, and it is barely contained. It's a big problem. More and more fires starting in the west. I'm close enough. This is interesting. Fire weather is a thing. That's the smoke area that you see kind of outlined there, and we're going to cover it, so I hope you tune in. It's kind of new for me. It'll be something different. The lack of water. I'm very interested in rain and storms and flooding. Well, this is the lack of all of those things, so we're on the antithesis of it. So very fascinating stuff, very destructive, but lightning caused it. It's part of the natural progression of things out there, like hurricanes, right? And I think it's worthy of some attention. So I'm going to do that with Scott as we progress through the rest of today. All right, I got this video all done, thank goodness. Believe me, it was a challenge. Lawn maintenance outside the hotel, cars going by on the interstate. It's been loud in here, so at least I knocked this out. Good to have you along with me. I hope to see you later today as we start streaming live on YouTube. From all of us at HurricaneTrack, I'm Mark Sudduth. Talk to you again as the week progresses.